Welcome back to What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. I'm Nick.
I'm Devin.
Truly, death becomes him.
God.
What do you call it? We're going to try to get through this one.
Yeah, definitely.
The energy
Vote
and
of
the
confidence.
eagerness. Yeah, exactly. What do you call it? I'm going to start us off with...
Yeah.
What... when you go on like a vacation or a trip of some sort, what kind of lodging do you like to stay in? What's your preferential lodging?
Well, I mean, what, like it between an Airbnb and a hotel?
Sure. Or a camper or a tent.
Well, I love camping, and I haven't gone camping in quite some time.
All right, let's keep it between an Airbnb and a hotel. I shouldn't have brought you down that road. I knew what I was getting myself into.
No, because I've camped in like a regular, tent, and then we also had a camper that we hauled behind the car. That was really fun.
Were you in the camper while the car was driving?
No, that thing's packed like a motherfucker.
Oh,
no, it's like a pop-up camper.
Imagine you and Garrett just like flailing around the camper.
No, that thing is packed tight. Like you have beds that like fold into the cart or whatever it's called. It's really cool. I love it. It was my grandparents, and it's just it smelled so old. It was amazing.
Asbestos.
I prefer hotels nowadays. One, there's a housing crisis, and short-term rentals are ruining the housing market. Two, Airbnbs are just out of control. You've gotten me started down a path we can't turn away from. Airbnbs are out of control with their fees and like the requirements that all these owners need and want, and like the money is insane. It's just way too expensive to stay at Airbnb. When you can stay at a hotel, you get free breakfast, free Wi-Fi, someone comes and cleans your room, you get really comfy robes and towels. Like, come on, son. Hotels.
And that was our new segment called Devin's Opinions.
Got so many of them. No, I mean, like, I love camping. I think hotels are nice because I don't have to worry about cleaning things.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
Because, they have a whole very well-trained staff to, like, handle that.
Agreed.
And it's cleaned every day. And, like, I don't have to clean or cook either, like, in the morning. Like, it's there.
Yeah. That's true. What's the best hotel you've stayed in?
I mean, I've stayed at the Palmer House Hilton downtown before.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that's the best one. It was certainly
It's a little older.
Yeah. It's super fancy, super fucking haunted.
Yeah.
Like there was a door at the end of the hall of my room that we were at, and I was like, I don't want to go near that door. No thanks.
I'm good.
That's where I die. Because it was like poorly lit too. But my beef with the Palmer House was just like so fucking expensive. Because like they had one of those fucking bastard sensors where it's like on top of the mini fridge you have like a water bottle sitting on a sensor, and if the sensor detects any change in weight, you get charged. And it's like, the fuck. That's my beef with hotels.
Yeah, that is
That's
a little
bullshit.
shitty.
Yeah.
That is shitty. Well, that's like we've stayed. I mean, I think the nicest room we stayed in was the wedding suite at the Drake.
Oh yeah, that was going to
gorgeous.
be the second one I brought up. Was being in another really old hotel in Chicago. It was fucking awesome to see that history.
It was. I mean, it was crazy because there was like 3 rooms in that suite.
Massive.
Yeah, that thing was insane.
Crazy.
But what I was gonna say was recently I've been getting into like staying at the Hyatt because I get points and I like them. But I will say, like, I do appreciate with that like brand and Hilton, some Hiltons, is like they do like really like we got like a handwritten note and we got like free like water bottles and like here's this towards that. Like I do appreciate that more than like an Airbnb or something.
Like I'm an IHG rewards member, so I
Proud
get my
member
complimentary. I get my complimentary water bottle when I check in. No, but then like I don't know. I feel like there are so many rules that go with Airbnbs too. Like the last one I stayed at was for a bachelor party up in Wisconsin, and it had a whole fucking 3-ring binder of rules and like shit to do, and it's like It's like my mom leaving me a to-do list when she goes grocery shopping.
Right.
It's like, all right, number 1, take the chicken out of the freezer and it better be defrosted by the time I get home. Number 2, vacuum. Number 3, clean the baseboards. And it's like, I'm staying here for vacation.
Right. Right. Well, Airbnb used to be so convenient.
Right.
Because it was for like people on a budget or like mainly like a lot of college kids and stuff like that. And it was fine. But now it's becoming too big. Right. And so it's just becoming, and I think people are shifting back to hotels.
I am.
But also insane that like to be a rewards member, like you get a free water bottle. I'm like, this should be like $1. Like, what are we, why is this like a perk of being a rewards member?
Excuse you?
Get the fuck out of here. The best thing about a DoubleTree though is those cookies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, I don't know what's in them, but they were great.
Crack.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I do, have you ever stayed in like a like super nice, like a St. Regis or like a Ritz-Carlton or anything like that?
Oh, a super fancy fucking hotel?
Yeah, Four Seasons.
No. I'm not made of money.
What about the Waldorf-Astoria?
I don't even know what that is.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
What is that?
Waldorf-Astoria in Chicago, it's over on Rush and Walton.
Sure.
So like in Gold Coast. Mm-hmm. It's a part of the Hyatt brand. It's like a Ritz-Carlton, but for Hyatt instead of I think Ritz is Hilton.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about the Waldorf-Astoria today.
Well, good thing I don't know anything about it.
Truly. What do you call it? So this literally, the reason that we're going to talk about it today is because the reason that this came about was because of the most petty fight imaginable. Like truly petty, like title-based fight.
Are you involved in this fight?
Yeah, in 1894.
Oh, okay. Well,
when the Waldorf-Astoria was created.
I'm sorry. The other one thing I know about you from a couple weeks ago is that you like some petty fights.
On occasion.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway,
yeah.
We're going to talk about the Waldorf-Astoria. Yeah. Now, we're going to talk about like all the family history. Yeah. And then we're going to talk about the specs of it, and then we'll get into the fight. I'm laying out the way this works. The reason that I'm laying it out is because there's a lot of names.
Uh-oh.
And so I need you to be ready.
Okay.
Put your thinking cap on.
I already have a hat. I have my Bass Pro Shop hat on. That's not my thinking
I hope that's not your thinking cap. Hold on tight.
I'm holding on to my microphone.
Okay, so we're going to start with the head of the family, John Jacob Astor. I knew you were going to say Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Is that what you were singing it?
Truly.
Off the pod.
Off the pod. So John Jacob Astor is actually the first multimillionaire in the U.S.
Yeah.
Born in Waldorf, Germany.
Okay.
Are you starting to get it now?
Oh, yeah.
You got there. He emigrated to the U.S. in 1783 and lands in Baltimore.
Okay.
When he gets here, he rents a room from a widow and marries the daughter of the widow, Sarah Cox Todd. And he starts a business in the fur trade, which was a huge success.
Are we talking about like animal fur or fur the tree?
Animal fur.
Gotcha.
Correct. Like fur trapping.
Yeah.
The reason that he like comes over to the U.S. is because the Revolutionary War obviously just ended, and he's like, let's take advantage of that.
Market's huge.
Correct. And so, huge success and fortune until the War of 1812.
That'll get you
every time. Disrupts the fur trade, and thus he does the only logical thing of moving and entering into the opium smuggling trade.
What an easy connection to make.
Truly.
Oh, God.
So he makes a ton of money in that trade.
I mean,
and eventually, being the moral man that he is, he leaves the Chinese opium business and decides to respectfully only sell opium to the British. Because if I'm going to sell opium, it's going to be with the highbrow. Right. So in 1799, he begins to buy up huge plots of land in New York City, knowing it's kind of the next big metropolis in the U.S. to be built up. And when he dies in 1848, he's the wealthiest man in the U.S., worth $20 million, which is about $600 million today, or about 10% of the U.S.'s GDP in 1848.
Wow.
So when he dies, he is worth 10% of the U.S.'s GDP.
That's crazy.
To put that in comparison, Jeff Bezos' net worth in 2020 was $200 billion, which was roughly 10% of the U.S. GDP in 2020.
Oh,
how disgusting is that?
Yeah, I hate all of it.
Correct. Astoria, the neighborhood in Queens, was named after him. And also one of the lions that sits out front of the New York Public Library is named Leo Astor after John Jacob Astor. Okay. The other one is Leo Lennox. But anyway.
My brain just like twinges every time you don't say Jingleheimer Schmidt.
And there's a few more John Jacobs. So get ready.
Need to let you know that's what's going inside my skull right now.
That's just going to be the undercurrent of the entire episode. Is that on repeat?
You know, like when a goldfish gets like really upset with its life and just like rams into the bowl and just like gung, gung, gung. That's what's going on with my brain anytime you don't say Jingleheimer Schmidt.
You know, I'm going to be honest here. I didn't know that goldfish just got unhappy with their lives and tried to commit suicide in their tank.
Don't take care of them.
Jesus Christ. He says from personal experience.
No, I've never owned a goldfish. We had a frog for like 20 fucking years.
Jesus. The same frog?
Same frog.
Really, the same frog?
Yeah, you can ask my mom.
Okay.
I'll call her up.
Yeah, okay. Again, get Gail on the line. This is like the 4th episode that she's needed to be on the phone, okay? So anyway, Astor has 8 children.
Okay.
A few of them die at birth or as a child. However, we're going to focus on William Blackhouse Astor Sr. So William Blackhouse Astor Sr. Doubled his family's fortune to $50 million by investing in real estate, railroads, coal, and the insurance companies. At one point, he was said to have owned 720 houses.
Holy shit.
He has 7 children, and we're going to focus on 2 children in particular. We're going to focus on John Jacob Astor III.
God damn it, yeah.
And William Backhouse Astor Jr.
Okay.
So John Jacob Astor III marries Charlotte Augusta Gibbs. He is a soldier in the Civil War and graduates from Harvard Law. He has 1 child.
Okay.
William Waldorf-Astor.
Hey.
Yeah. Keep that one in mind.
I'll do my best.
William Backhouse Astor Jr. Although the younger brother to John Jacob Astor, becomes the patriarch of the Astor family. He marries the head socialite of New York, Caroline Webster Schermerhorn. Correct. And does nothing to aggressively increase the family fortune. Like he adds to it, but he doesn't try to double it or anything of that nature.
Right.
So he sails on the largest yacht of the time, rides horses around. He builds properties in Jacksonville, Florida, and races horses in the Kentucky Derby. He also, though, to give him credit, supported the abolition of slavery before the Civil War even started.
Hey, look at that.
I know, what a guy. And he has 5 children. Out of those 5 children, we're going to focus on John Jacob Jack.
Holy shit. Okay.
Astor the 4th. You there?
I'm lost, but we're here.
Okay.
Just keep on tugging on the rope. I'll follow.
Don't worry. We're going to circle back to people. But this is kind of the background of the Astor family so far.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, again, William Backhouse Astor Jr., so William Jr., marries Caroline Webster Schermerhorn. Right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Caroline Webster Schermerhorn because she's hysterical and amazing.
With a name like that.
Truly. She's known as Lena.
Okay. That's much easier.
So Lena is born into a wealthy family that was part of New York City's aristocracy, descendants of the city's original settlers. Oh. So her family's wealth comes from the shipping business.
Yeah.
She marries into the Astor family, but she has the superior pedigree as a member of the old Knickerbocker families. Okay. Which is the 1600s Dutch settlers of Manhattan. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So her and William Jr. have 5 children. They build a 4-story brownstone townhouse at the present site of the Empire State Building. Oh. The house is next to and across... Go ahead.
Their house is where the Empire State Building currently is?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Where...
The house is no longer there.
Correct. But the Empire State Building?
Where the house was.
Uh-huh.
All right.
The house is next to / across the street, so like the southern side of the street, to William Jr.'s older brother, John Jacob III.
Okay.
So they live across the street from each other, and they have huge houses.
Right.
They lived next to each other for 28 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Lena and Charlotte, the wives of the brothers, famously did not get along.
Oh, that's not where I thought that was going.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be like best friends.
Nope. Didn't like each other.
And best friends.
Best friends.
Right.
She becomes a gatekeeper. Lena becomes a gatekeeper of New York City society with the assistance of a social arbiter, Ward McAllister. So what happens is after the Civil War, the population of New York just like skyrockets.
Right.
And so immigrants and wealthy arrivistes is what they're called, from the Midwest began challenging the dominance of the old New York establishment. So you got all these like new money and new people coming in and trying to like infiltrate their way. And Lena's like, whoa. This is old money shit. This is like how society runs. Yeah. Right. Like calm down. So arrivistes are ambitious or ruthlessly self-seeking person, especially one who has recently acquired wealth or social status.
Okay.
That's why they call them arrivistes. Ward once stated that amongst the vastly rich families of Gilded Age in New York, there were only 400 people who could be counted as members of, quote, fashionable society. So this goes on to be called the 400. So this, which Lena leads as she has enough room in her ballroom in her summer cottage in Newport, Rhode Island. So she leads it because she's the one that can house the 400 people,
right,
with some room still,
of course,
in her summer cottage in Rhode Island. Correct. So Lena attempts to codify proper behavior and etiquette, so as well as determine who was acceptable amongst the arrivistes. The two become the champions of old money and tradition. So they really just kind of plant their flag in the ground, and they're like, if you want to be a part of New York society, you have to follow these rules.
I hate them.
Like, this is how it has to be done. So William Jr.'s, her husband's lack of interest in like social events,
hell yeah,
fuels Lena's rise in success in the social sphere because she's able to attend and organize more and more activities. Because she doesn't have to like interact or like bring her husband along or ask for his whatever. He's just like, I don't really give a fuck. Just do what you want.
Whatever.
And she's like, bet.
Great.
And so in the late 19th century, Lena was the foremost authority on the aristocracy of New York and often held lavish parties for herself and other prominent members of the New York social elite. No one was allowed to attend these parties unless they were called on by Lena. So you had to get like an invitation, like the little card. I'll try and your servant give it to you. The 400 represented the old money and the upper crust of New York. However, enter in the Vanderbilts, representing new money.
Oh, Anderson Cooper.
Correct. Specifically, him.
You're right.
So Lena thought, because the Vanderbilts, like a lot of their money was in railroads, Lena thought that railroad money was distasteful.
Oh, okay.
And never called on the Vanderbilts to attend parties.
Oh, real quick, two interjections. Number one. For those of you who don't know, Anderson Cooper comes from the bloodline of the Vanderbilts.
Correct.
Just putting that out there.
His mother is Gloria Vanderbilt.
Right.
Yes.
Two, so she doesn't like railroad money.
Correct.
But I thought
her husband invests in some railroad money.
Yeah. I thought someone along the line was investing in railroad, and
that was her father-in-law. So her father-in-law had invested in real estate, railroads, coal, and insurance companies.
Yeah.
Majority of his fortune comes from real estate and insurance. He dabbles in railroads and coal.
So it's not.
It's not her husband.
Isn't
correct
in railroads. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Onward and upward. Into the social elite. So Lena never calls on the Vanderbilts. She thinks that railroad money was distasteful, and she doesn't like new money.
Okay.
However, the Vanderbilts, are acquiring more and more and more wealth. And one of the Vanderbilts eventually throws a costume party as a housewarming party for their new home in New York City.
Okay.
And at the last moment tells Lena's daughter that she cannot attend. So she was like, sure, come. Actually, never mind.
The scandal.
Truly.
Wow.
But this is the thing, is that like the wealth and prominence of the party and the lack of an Astor's attendance like shook the social scene.
That's huge.
Well, exactly.
Oh,
I feel like you're being so facetious, but like it truly was.
I'm playing into your story.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you playing along. And so Lena's hand was kind of forced at that point.
Yeah.
And she invites the Vanderbilts to her annual ball, which sets them into the upper echelon of the New York elite.
There we go.
The big thing was they could just no longer, I mean, yes, that was a part of it, but also she just couldn't afford, or she couldn't ignore their wealth anymore.
Right.
Like they were starting to get to the point where they were at the same level as the Astors. Like you can't just ignore them. You know what I mean?
That's fast money.
Yeah. I mean, they were making money left and fucking right. And so eventually the Vanderbilts are welcomed into the New York elite, and we know all about them. So that's a little bit of background into the Astor family.
Great.
Okay. And we're going to talk about now the Waldorf itself, like the hotel itself, and the Astoria.
Okay.
Okay. So the Waldorf Hotel opened March 13th, 1893 at the corner of 5th Avenue and 33rd Street.
Okay.
You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
You got it. So for the 5th Avenue and 33rd Street, the hotel was constructed in the German Renaissance style by Henry Janeway Hardenberg.
Okay.
Hardenberg, most colloquially known for the construction and design of the Plaza Hotel.
Okay.
Which is the big hotel in New York. Like
Sure.
everybody wants to get married at the Plaza.
Oh.
Eloise at the Plaza. No? Okay.
No.
It's a very popular spot.
Sure.
Very ritzy.
Okay. Sounds right.
It's really
up
good.
my alley.
If you're going to stay anywhere, it's the Plaza.
It's a plaza.
Everybody who's anyone stays at the Plaza.
Good thing I'm not anyone.
You are to me.
Oh.
Aw. So standing at 225 feet or 69 meters tall, 13 stories, contained 15 public rooms, 450 guest rooms, and 100 rooms for servants.
Okay.
It was furnished with antiques found by the founding member and President George Bolt and his wife Louise as they traveled around Europe. George also designed the hotel specifications, as he also owned and operated the Bellevue Stratford Hotel in Philadelphia, which was another very big and prominent hotel. Initially, the Waldorf was to be 11 stories tall, but George's wife Louise convinced him to build 13 as she felt the number was lucky.
Oh, that's funny. That's weird. Maybe she's a witch.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, I'm putting it out there.
I can see it. The Empire Room quickly became one of the best restaurants in New York after opening. It was also the largest and most lavishly decorated room in the hotel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. However, leading up to and in the beginning of the Waldorf opening, it was a mockery because it's a large number of bathrooms, and that the, quote, palatial hotel had no place in New York.
Oh.
So wealthy New Yorkers felt it ruined a good neighborhood. Business travelers felt it was too far uptown from their dealings, kind of on the south end of the island, and it was too expensive.
And it had too many toilets?
Too many bathrooms. They're like, that's too many bathrooms. So George Bolt, the founding member and manager, decides to host a charity concert for St. Mary's Hospital for Children the day after opening the hotel, and filled the ballroom with only the finest of New York's first families.
Ooh, only the first families. Uh-oh.
Only the upper echelon of the upper echelon. They paid $5 a ticket at the time, which is only $163 today for the concert and dinner.
Oh, that's nice.
I was like, that's nothing.
No.
In today, like to go to a concert and dinner, way more than that.
Yeah.
So the Mrs. William Vanderbilt donated the New York Symphony Orchestra to entertain for the evening. Do you know when you can donate an entire orchestra to a cause?
Oh my God. That's an amount of money I cannot fathom.
Wild.
I wish wild. I had.
So issues were that women did not generally enter hotels, even with the finest escorts, but everyone that attended the event did tour the hotel. It was just like unseen, and we'll get into this a little bit in a second, but it was like unheard of for people to really like hang out in hotels or just like publicly.
Well, but like to not be women would stay at hotels though, right? Like,
but not women of like prominence.
Right.
Women of prominence would have either a house home. There, or they would have someone entertaining them or something of that nature in their own private homes. Okay. They did not just go into hotels and spend nights in hotels. That was for the lower brow woman. Mm. So they even got slack because Bolt made the waiters be clean shaven, although Bolt himself had a beard.
Oh, okay.
Which I was like, sure.
Whatever.
Right. Business did quickly pick up though, and in the first year they were open, they earned $4.5 million or $124 million today, which was unheard of at the time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like all of a sudden, boom, done. To the point where in 1895, a 5-story addition was built and the ballroom was brought to the main floor.
Oh.
This supported the popularity as parties and dinners were then held in the ballroom, although traditionally these things were held in private homes. That was the whole thing, is that like in upper society, everything was held in private. You didn't hang out in public places.
Because then the poor could see you.
Right. Well, and also like it showed that you didn't have a nice enough home or a large enough home to entertain.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And so this was a huge shift in what that meant for society and especially upper society and how they organized in the city.
Yeah. Okay.
So a little like tidbit about one of the people who worked there. So Oscar Chursky, or Turkey, not Turkey, Chursky, Turkey, was hired as maitre d' and became so popular and attributed so much to the success of the Waldorf, he became known as, quote, Oscar of the Waldorf. And eventually published a cookbook of recipes from the Waldorf kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Credited for creating the Waldorf salad. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Oh.
Eggs Benedict.
I love
and aiding in the popularization of Thousand Island dressing.
Take or leave Thousand Island dressing.
True.
But I love Eggs Benny.
Waldorf salad, just in case we're not aware of what that is a combination of celery, apples, walnuts, and grapes dressed in mayo and served on a bed of lettuce. Often served as like an appetizer or like in-betweener meal.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because it's like all you need to do is add shredded chicken and it's like you got a chicken salad, like old chicken salad.
Sure.
All right. The traditional way for chicken salad is like you have
like a Midwestern like cold chicken salad.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a hot meal. It's like what you would have on a sandwich.
No, I know, but like when someone says chicken salad, I feel like I immediately go to like a chicken Caesar salad. You know what I mean? Like a cold salad with like chicken on it, not like a tossed chicken salad. Right. I'm just saying.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, anyway. Yes, very similar. So that's the Waldorf.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here.
So the Astoria
yeah.
Opened in 1897 at the southwest corner of 5th Avenue and 34th Street.
Okay.
It was also designed and constructed by Hardenberg in the German Renaissance style. It was 270 feet tall, with 16 stories, 25 public rooms, and 550 guest rooms.
Wow. Okay.
So It was 3 more stories tall. It was...
Go ahead.
So it was 3 more stories tall. It was roughly 45 feet taller. It had 10 more public rooms and 100 more guest rooms.
But didn't they add 5 more stories to
the Waldorf? Yes, but I'm in comparison to when they were first built.
The initial.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were just like, haha.
Yeah.
And also that addition was put on in 1895. So while construction was kind of happening for the Astoria.
Okay.
Yeah. The ballroom was the star jewel, as it was designed in the Louis XIV style, with a capacity for 700 seated at a banquet and 1,200 for a concert.
Damn.
Yeah. Okay. Massive. Eventually, the Waldorf and the Astoria combine with a 980-foot long corridor known as Peacock Alley after the merger in 1897. So eventually, over the street, they kind of create this long corridor to connect the 2 hotels. Okay. And they were like, we merged.
Right.
After this, the Waldorf-Astoria had 1,300 bedrooms, making it the largest hotel in the world at the time. The first hotel to offer electricity and private bathrooms throughout, which now everyone apparently is happy about the bathrooms. It was widely known for its fundraising dinners and balls and catering to the needs of the wealthy upper class,
of course,
crust of New York, and of course, distinguished foreign visitors. Mm-hmm. That's all the background.
Oh, shit.
So that's the family.
Okay.
That's the Waldorf and the Astoria and the fact that they merge.
Right.
Now we're going to talk about why they got built.
Okay.
And how petty it is that that's the reason they did.
Love it.
Okay. So William Waldorf-Astor, who is the only son of John Jacob Astor III, the older brother to William Backhouse Jr., right? Okay. Marries Mary Mamie Dahlgren Paul.
Okay.
She's known as Mamie. So William Waldorf-Astor marries Mamie.
Okay.
When William's mother dies, Charlotte, they believe that Mamie should be known as the Mrs. Astor in New York society, as he is the son of the eldest of the Astor family and inherits his father's share of the Astor holdings to truly becoming the head of the Astor family.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have William and Mamie.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm now the head of the household because my father died.
Right.
Right? His uncle, William Blackhouse Jr., who married Lena, right, are technically older, but his son inherits more of the holdings and the title, so he technically takes over as the head of the Astor family.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So he thinks within New York society, his wife Mamie should be known as the Mrs. Astor because his mother, Charlotte, was the Mrs. Astor.
Okay.
However, Lena thinks that she should be referred to as the Mrs. Astor because she has more societal weight, she has a better pedigree, and she's older.
Right.
So
she's been swinging her name around for all this time already.
Truly. Left and right.
Bam, bam.
All over the place. So although the William Astor family believes this, Lena, William's aunt, is already known as the Mrs. Astor. Like, after Charlotte dies and even a little bit before Charlotte's kind of in the game, like, she's known as that. I mean, Charlotte and Lena didn't get along, right? You have to remember that. And believes that she has the right to the title and that she is the elder with more social prominence, as we already said, right? So through this dispute between the two families, and remember, they live across from each other.
Right.
William decides to demolish his father's mansion that sits across the street from Lena's, and he begins to build the Waldorf Hotel in its spot, symbolically overshadowing Lena's status.
So they destroy their house to build a hotel.
To build the Waldorf.
As a middle finger to Lena.
Correct.
Amazing.
Because Lena's sitting in her home. There's this construction of this massive hotel happening across the street.
Right.
And that stature of the hotel is going to overshadow not only her home, but now they own this massive hotel. So they're like, fuck you. Right. Now who has the social prominence?
All I can imagine in my head, this is what I'm picturing. Mm-hmm. Come with me on this visionary trail.
I'm so ready.
So you have Lena sitting, reading the newspaper, having tea. And then she's just sitting in like a big ass comfy chair in front of a giant fireplace. Just like, oh dear, there's talks today, that way.
Just like that.
And then all of a sudden there's just this like huge explosion, this like rumbling of the house. She's like, oh, my goodness, what is that disturbance happening? Folds up the newspaper, places it down on the table, and this next to her, sets down her tea, goes up to the window, and like opens up the curtain and sees the house across the street
leveled,
gone.
Correct.
That's what I picture.
I love that beautiful scene that you painted. And if it's not Dame Judi Dench, I don't know who would play her.
Right. I don't know either. And I debated about giving them like a thick New York accent.
I was waiting for that.
But I went with like rich, pompous bullshit.
You know what? You really fit into the upper echelon.
I'm just trying.
And who said you can't?
Me.
So Lena is so angry about the construction that she often referred to the building, the Waldorf, as, quote, a glorified tavern next door. Which is awesome.
Oh, the shade.
So, not wanting to be next to the next sensation and the public draw, since the New York polite society did not gather in public, especially hotels, and after some convincing from her son, she moves uptown.
Okay.
So she's like, I'm not going to be a part of any of this, right? So after she moves, her son, John Jacob Jack Astor IV, decides to tear down the house that's next to the Waldorf to build the Astoria Hotel in its place, a cake across the street from the Waldorf. So William is so publicly humiliated in the feud that he moves his family to England and eventually fakes his own death.
What?
Which is then found out by the media, and he's mocked even more.
That's awesome.
Because, like, here's the thing. Like, you're fighting against someone who is the literal gatekeeper of the New York upper class.
Right.
Like, she is the person you know and go to. Like, she determines everything. And you said, no, we're going to fight. And she was like, okay. So even if you build this hotel, not only is she going to build a taller hotel, but also, like, she's going around being like, who the fuck do these people think she is? She's already known as Mrs. Astor. Right. And that's the thing, is that, like, there is a distinction, which is kind of weird and petty, but there's a distinction between the Mrs. Astor and Mrs. Astor.
Right.
Because if I went out in public and I was like, oh, the Mrs. Astor, you get what I'm saying, but I want to be referred to as Mrs. Astor. Yeah. Because then there's no confusion by who you're talking about. Right. And so the implies that we need to speculate, right? Yeah. And so it's just crazy that they would try to go up against her to the point where he then flees. It's just insane. Right. So then I have a bullet point that says Lena wins. So then
ding ding ding.
Correct. So eventually the two hotels are built. They're then connected and merged by Peacock Alley because while Astoria opens, they know that it's going to be really popular, and William Waldorf is so, humiliated that they eventually decide to merge. They kind of like come together as a family because this is all internal, right?
It's all family.
Correct. This is his aunt, right? And his nephew, cousin, nephew, cousin. Anyway, so it's all internal. They eventually decide to merge. They create Peacock Alley, right? Yeah. So, and then it becomes the world's largest hotel. The Waldorf-Astoria, the original that we're talking about, is eventually torn down, and the Empire State Building was constructed in its place. So it no longer exists.
Shame.
However, the brand of the Waldorf-Astoria is owned by Hyatt.
Around.
Yeah, okay. And it's still around, and is one of the top tier hotels that you can stay in. That's not like a boutique whatever, right? But there's only a handful of them throughout the world. Same thing with like the St. Regis and the Ritz and things like that, but it's of that stature.
Interesting.
The Waldorf-Astoria. But that's the story.
Wow. That's so petty and high society bullshit.
I knew you would love it. I was like, do I have a story of capitalism for Devin?
Yeah, you know how to get my fires
going. But I just love that, like, this is the Gilded Age. You know what I mean? Like, right. This is all of that, like, glamour and society and politeness and all the etiquette kind of coming together. But even these, like, little petty feuds within that. And how important and the weight of them that they felt at the time, which is crazy.
It's crazy how much power they just had within New York to control all this bullshit. It's fucked up.
It's crazy. But I love Lena because she's just like, I run the 400. So actually, when she died, because she's the head of the 400, right? Yeah. Just her. When she dies, 3 women have to step into her place to handle all of the things that she did.
Holy shit.
Isn't that nuts?
Wow.
She was like a powerhouse. Yeah. It was crazy. And what was cool was the 400 and kind of her like internal group were a lot of strong, independent, powerful women. Yeah. Like, yes, of course, they were like married into prominent families or came from prominent families themselves. Right. But they like did a lot of work within kind of raising like the female stature within society, which is really cool. Yeah, nice. It's not just like, oh, I have money, so I'm gonna lounge around, right? All those things. I mean, look at the Waldorf-Astoria, are prominently known for fundraising and balls and things like that, like in charities, and so it was really great. It was cool. So really, it's a story of Lena as well. The Mrs. Astor. Yeah, exactly. But that's all I got for you today.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me that story. I enjoyed the story. I hate the people, but I enjoyed the story.
One day, I want us to go to an event or a party, whatever, in like black tie or white tie.
What's a white tie?
White tie is like a little more formal. So usually like tails, like...
There's more formal than black tie?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
We'll talk about it later.
At a black tie. Jeez.
Jesus Christ. I can't wait.
All right.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for standing by. Make sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't worry about that. At WDYK_podcast and on Twitter or X at WDYK_podcast.
Yeah, and I just want to give a quick shout out to any and all new listeners that we got.
Yeah.
I noticed staring at the analytics of our podcast that we have some people going back to the beginning of the show and listening through all the episodes, which is awesome. Welcome in.
Yeah, welcome.
Hope you're enjoying it so far, and I hope you get to this point so you can hear me say thank you to you.
We hope you keep on.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
And we've crossed over the mid-year mark. We're halfway to a year of having a podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Isn't that crazy?
Freaky-deaky.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No, it's great. I love it. I'm glad you're all here, and make sure to tell all your friends about it as well, so they can also get in on this.
You guys can have like listening parties together.
That'd be so cute.
That's so cute.
I want to be part of a listening party.
Yeah.
DM me. I'll listen to party with you.
And add in commentary. Be like, Nick was a real dick that day.
God, I had to edit out so much.
Amazing. All right. I'll see you later, Dev.
Okay, bye.
Bye.